I'm now in the King Rama IX park. For those who know Thailand, that's the previous king. Now it's King Rama X. Beautiful park here in the Suan Luang area. One of my favorite places to come to is the night market, the Wat Phai night market, or Wat Phai's train, is not far from here. Well, sure, walking distance. And most likely we'll go there in the evening to get something to eat there. Anyhow, so let's continue with Exodus chapter 1, verse 8. Okay, in the first part of the chapter, we've seen how the people came to Egypt and the names of those who came, and as well that they all died out, and the next generation as well. But although they all died out, their people, the Israelites, they were still fruitful and they multiplied, they increased greatly. Verse 8, let's read verse 8 then. Now there arose a new king over Egypt who did not know Joseph. Okay, so a good question here is, did the annals from the libraries all kind of seemingly just disappear and they forgot all about Joseph, right? I mean, these kinds of things can happen, right? Let's face it. If a new king comes into power from another dynasty, then it has happened very often in the past that that king will then kind of destroy. We can read about this in the Bible as well. Destroy all the offspring of the previous king, take his wives, rape them, whatever, but get rid of all the males, the men. Okay, and in that sense as well, then maybe they would try to get rid of all information concerning the previous king, because now we are the king, I am the king, and we don't know and want him to remember anything. Yeah, I mean, it is possible, but to totally, even under those circumstances, people kind of tend to, some people in the will remember, right, that this king was not always there, and so that there was someone before them, and maybe in their annals, maybe just in their oral traditions, the knowledge will stay. I mean, you can't destroy. You can destroy or burn all the books, but what's up here, right? It takes more to destroy, right? If there's nothing here, sure, then it's easy. Like the present Western world, there's nothing up there, right? So it's kind of easy to destroy knowledge, very easy. Yeah, so in the more oral culture, it's going to be difficult. It's in the heart of the people. There would be people who hated the previous king, the people who loved the previous king. Now, sure, there would have been lots of people who loved Joseph, right? And we would have told the stories of this Hebrew who became the king and everything he did. So so the chance of, even if there's a new dynasty and they're trying to get rid of all the previous information, totally getting rid of all information is basically not going to be possible. But I actually don't think that this is a case where they destroyed the previous annals, because I believe that Moses actually studied that, and that is where he got his information from. I mean, that is how we get to the JP and kind of ideas of some Bible scholars, liberal ones especially, that he used some of that information, right, and he edited as was befitting of the situation in which he was in at the moment when he wrote this in the desert. Okay, so for that reason, I believe he did study. There were the libraries where he did study or found out this information about it, right, and he used that. So, so what then does it mean? What I believe is what is meaning here is more a question of I want to forget, right? It's like I don't want to be reminded of all the good the previous guys did, right? I want everybody to just know about the good I am doing, especially if you're not doing any good, right? Then you don't want them to be reminded of the good of the previous king, or the previous Pharaoh in this case. So I think this is a question of the Pharaoh, not a question of him not knowing about Joseph, but this is a question of him not wanting to know about Joseph. In other words, he knew, but he didn't want to know. So he didn't know. Okay, I hope you understand that concept. It's like we all know, I mean, let's face it, even atheists, right? We know that nothing don't create something. Okay, but still, atheists, they don't want to believe in God. We know God exists. It's just a fact. We know. The Bible takes it as a fact. We know it. Again, here I'm in a park. I mean, this park didn't come out of nowhere, right? It was made by man. So ultimately, we know that there is a God, Romans chapter 1. But the majority of people don't believe in God. Well, I mean, the Christian God it is. The majority of people believe in a God, or gods. Okay, but in the Christian God, yes, you're not the majority of people. Anyhow, so they know what we know, but we don't want to know. So I think this is more what is happening in this case with Pharaoh. It's not a question that there was no information about him and that he forgot everything about Joseph. It was just a question of, I know, but I don't want to know. So therefore I say, I don't know. Verse 9, and he said to his people, behold, the people of Israel too many and too mighty for us. Okay, so in other words, what is the reason for him wanting to not know? It is not because of the good deeds of Joseph, right? Yeah, right, maybe this guy did some good deeds as well. We could always claim that it's not Joseph or somebody else who did the good deeds or anything. Different ways to spin a story, right? We all know that as well. Listen to politicians, any politician on this planet. And I just had this discussion as well with the brother from Nigeria this morning at church and concerning this. And yes, sure, they're politicians. And I said, well, all politicians are, well, ultimately exactly the same. They spin a story to fit them. Okay, so he's not knowing, therefore, it's not to do with the fact that Joseph did good deeds and actually saved them and actually brought all the land into the king, into Pharaoh's hands, kind of. But it has to do with the fact that the people became far too many, right? They're too many, too mighty for us. Now, mighty for us, I mean, they were not soldiers, right? They were farmers. Now, okay, yeah, think of farmers. I mean, in South Africa in the war, I mean, the Voortrekkers war against the Boer Wars, there were farmers fighting against the Brits. So it's not to say that farmers can't fight, right? Or herdsmen couldn't fight. They sure could fight, and even 1,000 herdsmen going up against one cannon, depending on how fast the cannon shoots and whatever, they might still overcome that one cannon, right? So it's kind of, and they sure had no cannons, right? So they were a danger, or they could have been a danger, and this is what was the reason why the Pharaoh conveniently forgotten about Joseph. So instead of giving Joseph and seeing, but Joseph actually wanted to save them and giving him the gratitude for that, understanding that these people are here by imitation of the Pharaoh and were given the land by the Pharaohs we've seen in Genesis. No, now there are too many and they might be a hindrance to us. Yeah, sure, they became, and it's like a little bit, even, I mean, in a sense, since today, like look at the Emirates, the United Arab Emirates or Qatar, or any of those Arabic states. The vast minority of people are local, right? The vast majority of people are actually migrant workers coming from India or Pakistan, mostly India. And you can see it on the graph scales, age, and etc. I mean, it's just a fact. Because they don't have enough of their own people, so they need people from the outside to come and work for them and do it. I mean, it's the same here, basically, in Thailand, although, understandably, the numbers not as skewed as there in those Middle Eastern states. Qatar, Dubai, and those places, Emirates. Yeah, so yeah. So yeah, I'm just thinking of Saudi Arabia, but Saudi Arabia has quite a number of their own people as well. Though there are lots of people working in Saudi Arabia, immigrants, but still they're there. So it's not as skewed as, like, say, for example, in Qatar. That is right. So, but the Qataris, at least in the moment, not saying, okay, we need to get rid of the immigrants. They have a different way. They just don't give them the right to vote or anything like that. So they can't become citizens, because if they could, then they can outrun and become just a little enclave of India or something like that, right? And that's sure not what they want. So this, at least now, is used as, and we don't know. So in other words, what I'm trying to get at here is that we don't know exactly how many of the local Egyptians there were, because there are lots of people living today in Egypt, but they all live next to the Nile, right? the vast majority of them, and because that's where the water is, that's where the land is, etc. Okay, so but in those days, would there have been, how many millions of them would there have been? So if there were a couple of millions of them and the Hebrews like 1 million, sure, they're still the majority and they're still going to vote and they're still going to vote in their people. Okay, but the fact, even in a certain sense, as we're going to see further, is not so much even to do with the fact that there were so many, but especially where the many of them lived. Okay, so this is the reason why he conveniently forgot about Joseph, the fact that they became too many.